My name is Hampley III from Spiritual Combatants, where we're training soldiers for Christ. I want to thank you for joining me on this message. Today, I'm going to be talking about how to trust God through difficult times. And difficult times are often like seasons. Sometimes, they come and they go, but some of them last longer than others. And if we're not careful, we may leave that season with some anger, hatred, unforgiveness, bitterness, frustration, strife, and much, much more. And it doesn't even affect us now. It may wind up impacting people around us as well as generations of people afterward. And so to cover this topic, this series, it's probably maybe 3 or 4 videos. I want to use a book that I wrote called Trusting God Through Difficult Times. And so Trusting God Through Difficult Times covers the life of Joseph in the Bible from Genesis 37 and then Genesis 39 through 50. And so in this video series, I'm going to provide a very broad brushstroke summary of some of the events of his life. Even the book provides a summary as well. And so I do encourage you to take some time to read the chapters in the Bible for yourself to kind of get a fuller understanding of everything that may occur. But I really believe this is a very important topic and something that God is really pressing on my heart to be able to speak about today. And I pray that it'll bless you, because many of us are going through, but just as we go through, there's a way for us to grow through the situation or process that we may be experiencing. And it's really important that we really take the time to grow through what we're experiencing, because if we don't, we'll begin to take out our frustrations on others and other innocent people that may not have done anything to us, but because we're hurting, we begin to hurt others as well. So let's get into the story about this 13-year ordeal that one of the brothers experienced. So Jacob is the father of 12 sons. And so Joseph, that we're going to cover today, is the 11th son of the 12, but he is one of the favored. He is the favored son because he is the firstborn of the wife that Jacob loved. And so because of that, the brothers hated him. And then out of the love that Joseph had for him, he made for him a coat of many colors, which caused their hatred to grow even more. And so here it is that Joseph didn't do anything to his brothers. Nothing, other than being born. He can't control being the favorite son or the one that Jacob loved. But now the brothers are taking out their frustration and their hatred out on their brother, as opposed to talking to their dad about it. So they take it out on him. And so a little bit later, Jacob has a dream. He has 2 dreams. And so in the first dream that he has, he's like a sheep in the field. And so all of the brothers bowed down to his sheep. And so that made their hatred, it grew, it increased. And then he had another dream where his parents and his brothers bowed down to him. And so now envy began to stir within them, because any dream that they have that's doubled or that's repeated means that it will surely come to pass. And so if you think about that, now the brothers have this hatred for him. And now because there's a dream that says, okay, you're the favorite son, and now later we're also going to bow down to you as well. So they have this envy that drives within them. So sometime later, Jacob says to Joseph, hey, why don't you go check up on your brothers, see how they're doing, how they're faring. They're out in the fields. So he travels about 65 miles and he goes to 2 different places to find out where they're located. So when he's a great distance off, the brothers begin to conspire against him. So this is what they say. They said, come now, and let's kill him. Come now, therefore, and let's kill him and cast him into one of the pits, and we will say, an evil animal has devoured him. We will see what become of his dreams. And James 3:16 says, for where envy and strife is, there is confusion in every evil work. And so now, the eldest brother, Reuben, had convinced the brothers that could go forward with the plan, but instead of killing him, to just throw him in the pit. So when Joseph comes to them, they take off the coat of many colors and they throw him in the pit. So a little while later, Reuben is gone, but now the brothers are sitting and they're eating, and so they conspire a new plan against their brother. And so now, as a band of Midianites or merchants begin to travel from Gilead to Egypt, this is what they say. They say, what profit is it that if we kill our brother and conceal his blood? Come, and let's sell him to the Ishmaelites and not let our hand be on him, for he is our brother, our flesh. And so they take him out of the pit and they sell him to the merchants for 20 shekels of silver, which is about $200. And so now they begin to establish a plot of deceit. So their hatred and their envy drove them to almost kill their brother, but instead they sell him into slavery. And now in the second part, they're going to bring a issue, or at least conspire a plan of deceit. So what they do is they take the coat of many colors that their father made for them and dip it in blood of a goat. And then they take the coat to their father and say, hey, here is Joseph's coat. And so, see what has come of him. And so now his father believes that he has been torn apart or killed by an evil animal. And so now when you think about that, the father was in distress, and he was actually in distress for 22 years over the death of his son. And this is what they allowed to happen. This is what drove them. Hatred and envy drove them to conspire a plan to, they sold their brother into slavery, and now their father is grieving. And he knows not what became of his son. But he may think, because they have the blood and the coat, that his son was torn by an evil animal. And so when we look at this situation, hurting people hurt others. And so they were hurting, and they didn't process the hurt that they had, and they acted against that object. It's like he was the object of their frustration, and they took it out on him. And now not only Joseph is suffering, but also the father as well. And so sometimes what we got to realize is that sometimes it's other people. It's not us. It's other people acting against us. He didn't do anything to them that was wrong, but now those individuals, the brothers, acted against him. It was them, and it wasn't Joseph. And so now let's go into this process of rejection. So from Gilead to Egypt is about a 300-mile trip. And so now he gets to Egypt, and he's sold to a man named Potiphar, who is he is an officer of Pharaoh as well as a captain of the guard. And so he's sold and placed in Potiphar's household. And the Lord blessed Potiphar's house for Joseph's sake. And he made Joseph to prosper in everything he did, in spite of him being sold into slavery. And Potiphar's trust was so great that outside of the bread that he ate, he had no idea what he had. That's how much he trusted Joseph. But, Joseph was also a very handsome young man. And so he caught the eye of Potiphar's wife, who urged him to have sex with him. Look at what he says. He says, "Behold, my master doesn't know what is with me in the house, and has put all that he had into my hand. No one is greater in this house than I am, and he has not kept back anything from me but you, because you are his wife. How can I do this great wickedness and sin against God?" This is in the midst of him being sold into slavery twice. And he says he has this commitment to God. How can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? So you can guarantee that his answer was no. But day after day, because she kept coming after him, his refusal was no good. And so it got so bad to the point where he wouldn't listen to her, he wouldn't lie next to her, or even be with her. But one day, he was conducting his business in the house. And so she catches him by the garment one more time to urge him to have sex with her. And he just bolted out. He left the garment in his hand and he took off out of the house. So what she does, she conspires a plan now after this rejection. And so she calls the men of the house, the servants of the house. And so what she says is that she begins to accuse him of attempted rape. And so she holds on to the garment, and then she waits until her husband comes home, Potiphar. And so she tells Potiphar the story. And then when Potiphar finds out, he takes Joseph and throws him in the prison where the king held his prisoners. So again, there's nothing said here that he acted any way, shape, or form other than with integrity toward Potiphar's wife. But then Potiphar's wife faced rejection. Now, the scriptures don't really talk about how she may have processed that, but some of us may know people that experience rejection, and because they're rejected, they feel embarrassed. And so, there's some people think that they can get whatever they want, and they always hear yes, but now they hear a no. Now they're in a situation where she's looking to be unfaithful to her husband, but then someone has integrity and says no. And so maybe rejection, like we may know some people, drive them to seek revenge. Oh, you won't have sex with me? Oh, you won't give me what I want? I'll show you. And so when she had her opportunity, she took advantage of this opportunity, and now he's in prison. So he goes from a beloved brother to being sold twice into slavery, and now he's a prisoner, and he's done nothing wrong. And he's upheld his standard of living before the Lord and before his brothers and before Potiphar and his wife. And so what I wanted to do here is explain that sometimes through these difficult situations, as we were going over the story, sometimes we experience things from people that have hatred or envy. And I talked about people that hurting people hurt people, wounded people wound people. And sometimes you have nothing to do with it. You didn't do anything. There was many times in my life growing up that I have experienced mental, physical, emotional abuse. And I'm thinking like, I don't know what I did to deserve any of this stuff. But as a father, I knew that there were some generational curses. There were some generational curses that will not pass on. They will stop with me. My daughter and I will not share the same testimony. And there are so many of us that sit back and we say, you know what? I'll never act like my parents. I'll never act like this person. I'll never do that. And we turn around and do the same thing to our children or to other people who are innocent and have done nothing wrong, because we are hurting and we never took the time to process the hurt and the pain and the wounds that we had inside. Now, what I'm going to tell you, that wasn't easy. It wasn't easy for me to get past this, but to be determined that my daughter and I will not share the same testimony. That stuff stops with me, because there is no excuse why I have any reason to hurt my child because somebody that she probably didn't even know, or something that happened 30, 40 years ago, that gives me no right, no excuse to hurt my child or to hurt anybody else. And so I have to take the time, and it was a lot of work, and you cannot do it without the Lord Jesus Christ. There was no way I have experienced some deep, deep cuts and wounds in my life. Things that I've had to go to the Lord, constantly, to get past, so that I walk in forgiveness. I can look at people without seeking revenge, because sometimes when you look at some people that hurt you, man, you want to see them pay. You want to see God, crush them with all his fury. You want to see it with your own two eyes. And I know I'm not the only person, but it's still not right. And so we have to be able to process that, because most of us experience some type of pain. But if we hurt someone else, they begin to take on that pain, and we pass it on to either generations or people that may not have even done anything to us. And we're going to go into this next video that will talk. In the next video, we're going to talk about Joseph's response to the things that happened to him, and how he kind of went through those things. And he didn't respond in like manner. And I pray that you don't either. That if you're in a situation right now where you are hurting, you have been wounded, and people have done things to you that are not right, that you will seek the Lord. He is an ever-present help in time of trouble. You can go to him. I have gone to him. There's times when he has come to me and said, Hamp, you need to forgive this person. And the person he was describing, I didn't even think, I wasn't even thinking about the person at the time. But there was something, God, the Spirit knows. And he said, Hamp, you got to get past this. And so he led me through a process to continue to keep him on my mind and to continue to process the things so that I can walk in forgiveness, because forgiveness is treating a person as if they never wronged you. And sometimes we experience some deep, deep wounds. And this is not to overlook or try to water over or brush over anything that people have gone through. There are people that have gone through some traumatic experiences in their life. And there are things that God, he knows those things, and he loves and he cares for you. And he doesn't want you to go out to hurt other people because you've been hurt. He wants you to go to him with your cares and your concerns and your wounds and your pains so that he can take those, so that he can heal your heart. With those hurts and pains and those scars and wounds in your heart, those are things that only he can help heal. Nobody else can do that. And so, but he wants you to take it to him. But sometimes we won't trust him with our heart. We won't trust him to work in us and to do that surgery that's necessary within us, that spiritual surgery, the work of the Spirit, to allow him to renew us and to refresh us and to give us. We need a clean heart, and we need our spirit to be renewed when we've been broken and when we've been wounded. And that's only something that he can do. And I pray that you will take the time to really consider if you have a hurt or a pain, because I know in this video, God has brought it to your remembrance. If there is something that's going on within your life, something that someone acted against you, how are you dealing with that? You can't keep it in the closet. As long as you keep that thing locked away, you still won't heal, because you still operate out of that pain. Even though you may not bring it up every day, there's certain people or situations that jump off, you'll just kind of start to step around like, oh, look like we're going back into this terrible. Sometimes your mind, boom, will just go right back to where it was before, and you'll start to act out, okay, we're about to protect ourselves. Somebody else hurt me, but I'm not going to allow you to do that to me too. And so we ruin relationships and spoil the different friendships and fellowships that we have because we still leave that box locked up in the attic or it's in the basement. We try to throw that joker in the abyss, in a black hole, but no matter how deep or how far, wherever you put that box of hurt and pain, you can still reach it. You can still touch it. It is always within arm's reach. But that's why we need to open it and allow it to be exposed. And sometimes that process of exposure is hurtful and is painful in our soul, but God will heal us completely. He will heal your heart and make it whole. You can be perfect and entire, lacking nothing, if we just trust him. And so I pray today, if that is you and you're in a situation where you've been hurt and wounded, that you will trust God. And it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to say, God, I'm not okay. But it's not okay for us to stay there. And I pray that, because the longer you stay there, the longer that bitterness and anger and frustration can take root and begin to grow and to spread and to begin to affect other people's lives as well. And that's not something that you want. And I know if you have children, you don't want your children to share your testimony. I didn't. And it hurts me when I see that same generational thing transferred to another generation that had nothing to do with it. It hurts and pains me too, just like it does the Father. And so I pray that you'll go before the Lord, you'll seek him, just really take some time to look over this video, read the scriptures, and that we'll continue to go in to this story about how to trust God through difficult times. We'll go into the next chapter and kind of close up some of the summaries, and then we'll also talk about 10 ways from the book that you may be able to trust God through difficult times. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or you would like for me to pray for you, please reach out to me in the comments. You can shoot me a private message if you like. Anything that we can do to help you get through this difficult time. You can get through. This is a season and it will pass, but you don't want this season to pass where you continue to hold on to all these negative baggage and weights, where we can let those things go and we can be free in Christ. You can have the perfect peace of God. And so, but we have to go before him. We can be around him, but then if we never unlock what's in our hearts, he said, give it to me. Give it to me. Be willing to give those things over to God. And I pray that you will today. And we'll be praying for all of you. And if you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. And until the next time, may God bless you abundantly. God bless.